What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. Welcome to another year-end countdown, and I've been doing many of those on the channel and my main channel as well. So if you've missed out on any of those, please check the link in the description. There is a link to all of my year-end playlist and countdown videos. So today, I'm going to be taking a look at 7 of the most disappointing albums of 2017. In fact, the 7 most disappointing albums of 2017. Now with any of my lists, obviously this is objectively my opinion and not yours, so obviously if it didn't disappoint you, let me know in the comment section down below, tastefully, respectfully, maybe, not screaming, or you can scream if you want to, if that really makes you feel better. Sadly, while 2017 had many great albums in the world of music and many great songs, there were just a lot of things that let me down and had me wondering, what is this band doing? And I feel like a lot of them came in the first 6 months or so. The second half of the year was definitely an uptick, at least in terms of the albums that were coming out, but there were plenty of disappointing ones all throughout the entire year. But before we get into my actual top 7 as we count down this list today on SOS, we're actually gonna first take a look at some of the honorable mentions, dishonorable mentions, whatever you want to call them. Roll the clip.
So don't call me baby. All the light above it too is gonna rise and shine.
He can be my jailer, virgin to this tailor. Every love I've known in comparison is a failure. Can you burn up fire in my face?
All of the ones that you just saw in the montage are albums that I was looking forward to, or else I had some expectation, or else I liked some of the singles and I just felt like they were gonna be good, and then they just ended up letting me down and disappointing me. And keep in mind, disappointing doesn't always mean awful. I mean, yes, it can mean that, that's for sure, and I will specify on this list whenever it does. Rest assured that I will let you know. But I just don't always think it means awful. A lot of times, it's just if a friend or a family member does something and you're like, I'm disappointed in you, that's me talking to these bands. So without further ado, please drop a like on the video, and if you want to see more, stick around for my year-end countdowns. I have a lot of other content on the channel as well. Please hit that subscribe button. Here's my very first pick.
Chasing out the darkness inside, 'cause nobody can save me.
This was a very hard year for me, and I felt so conflicted because I did not enjoy the Linkin Park album all that much that came out, One More Light, but we also had Chester Bennington passing away. But I also felt like this was probably the least involved that he had ever been in the writing process and just the creation of the album, because there were many songs that Mike Shinoda took lead vocals on, and there were also some that he just didn't seem to have writing credits for whatsoever. And while he took these songs and made them his own, even on the title track, which is so stirring and emotional as he sang it for apparently a friend at the label, but it turned out to be something so much bigger than himself as he leaves this legacy behind, Chester Bennington did a great job with his parts of the record. And I even came around on moments like Heavy with Kiara. I really feel like that track is just about going through addiction, getting sober, getting better, learning to maybe not hate yourself, and just learning that your mind being messy, you can sort it out and you can get help. And unfortunately that came too late for Chester. That's why it's hard for me to listen to now. But this album in general just didn't have a ton of flair to it. It didn't have a ton of appeal. It was very, very poppy. It was overproduced. Lots of outside co-writers that I just didn't approve of whatsoever. They didn't feel like a band, and that's the biggest thing missing here on One More Light. It's a very unfortunate release, unflattering for them, I would say, and for this to be their last with Chester Bennington, I just kind of hate that.
Another white guy in 2017 who takes himself so goddamn seriously.
Number 6, Father John Misty's Pure Comedy. This was an album that many people in the indie sphere were hotly anticipating, and I was definitely looking forward to it as well. I loved I Love You, Honey Bear, that came out in 2015. It was a great record. It was my introduction to him, and while I didn't love every single song, there were so many nuances there and just so much sarcasm oozing into the lyrics that I had to be on board for a new Father John Misty record. Jay Tillman is just so creative whenever it comes to lyrics, and throughout this record, I just felt bored. It's actually pretty funny to me how the indie community seems to work, because they loved me and they were lifting me up on their shoulders whenever I was saying I Love You Honey Bear is great, one of the best albums of 2015, and then as soon as I give out my thoughts on Pure Comedy and I'm like, I don't like this was boring as hell to me, they were just attacking me from all sides, saying, you've got no taste in music, go back to your pop shit, etc, etc. And yeah, I do like the songs that are a little bit more catchy on this album, and that's just my personal taste. I'm not always down for a 14-minute song that just doesn't seem to go anywhere. I'm looking at you, Leaving Los Angeles. Yes, I'm exaggerating a bit, but this album just felt like a giant meh to me, so I couldn't help but feel let down and wanting something more, because while there were songs that I continue to listen to off of the album to this day, it's just not a project that I'm going to keep coming back to as a whole. Far too long and far too tedious.
You want me, I'll be waiting for you. If you call me, I'll pick up. No shit, but I can't give up 'cause you got me crying for so long, but my tears have dried.
Number 5, the sister band Haim with Something to Tell You. This once again was not an awful album, it just felt overly done in a way, and it just felt too repetitive and recycled. I mean, nearly every single song here is about a relationship and a back and forth. It's like 1 second they're red hot for somebody, and the next second they're throwing that relationship off of a cliff. That's what it feels like to me. Haim's debut, Days Are Gone, was a great effort. It reminded me of the 60s and the 70s, with a certain breeze and just a little bit of a funk and a spice to it. It reminded me of Fleetwood Mac, it reminded me of other music of that time period, and that wasn't a bad thing whatsoever. That was one of my favorite records of the year whenever that came out in 2013. But fast forward 4 years, and it seems like they maybe got a little bit too in their heads about the whole project, because some tracks are maybe a little bit underproduced, like Right Now, and then some of them seem overproduced, like, I don't know, parts of Little of Your Love and some of these other tracks. Even though they're very, very catchy, there's just something that I cannot quite put my finger on, and it just didn't have me coming back to the album as a whole. I mean, you had a lot of big names working on it, but it just didn't pan out for them overall, even though there were great songs. I like Right Now, I like Little of Your Love, I like Ready For You, but there's like elements of songs that just don't have a staying power to them, if that makes sense. Number 4, Weezer in this Wheezy. We've got Pacific Daydream here. And oh boy, it's just such a back and forth, it's a chore at this point. To see Weezer falling in and out of the graces of the public and the critical eye, and then they fall off the cliff again, and now they're like back, and now they've fallen off again with Pacific Daydream. I'm just tired of the up and down. I want some consistency from Rivers Cuomo, but his mind is so all over the place sometimes, I feel like, that he just can't keep it in one lane. They had 2 great back-to-back albums with Ube, Everything Will Be Alright in the End, and obviously the White Album as well. Just 2 fantastic ones, Ube being my favorite of the 2, but the White Album definitely giving it a run for its money. But here, on this record, I just feel like they totally dropped the ball, as Rivers just writes these kind of jangly pop songs that are inspired by the Beach Boys, apparently, but he seems like he's doing his best impersonation of like a pop goes rock band, trying to be kind of relevant with his words, but just ending up feeling like he's all over the place. It feels like that, just a picture of Charlie from It's Always Sunny, where his mind is trying to work out a million different theories, except he never really lands on one, and as a result, I don't think I ever really want to come back to this full album.
They brought you new chains that buckled in the wrong key. They're buckled in the wrong key.
If I was a big fan of AFI, rest assured this would be landing at number 1 on my list, because this is not a good album. Just however you look at it, I've discussed it with a lot of different people who really don't look at it from a blinded point of view of being a huge fan. It's just not up to quality. The lyrics, just the music, it all feels a bit like, I don't know, contrived. It feels tired already, and I'm listening through it for the first time, and it's almost uninspired as you go through it. The 2 singles that were released right off the bat, that is Snowcats and White Offerings, are both fantastic tracks that had me excited for this project. In fact, Snowcats was one of my favorite songs of last year, but that one just didn't hold the weight of the entire album. It can't. That, along with obviously White Offerings, which was more of a more rootsy type track where they went back to their roots, went a little bit harder, some screams from Davey Havok with those harsh vocals. It was a great moment, and I think that Snowcats was a catchy one that reminded me of December Underground. But as you went through this entire record, were there really too many songs that jumped off the page to you? For me personally, I know there weren't, and in fact, I haven't come back to the album since then, other than obviously listening to it in preparation for this list, and that didn't do me any favors.
Got me thinking about it all day long. Banging my head against the wall all day long.
Have you been watching my channel for a while now? Well, if so, then you know that I praised the ever-living fuck out of Portugal Demand's last album, Evil Friends, that came out in 2013. It landed at #1 on my best albums of the year list, and I had songs charting all over the place, like on my top 50 favorite songs, and I just was giving it so much praise, I gave it a perfect 5 out of 5. So was I hyped for a new album? Hell yeah! You see, here's the thing, they come back with this new album, it's only 10 songs, and there's not a lot going on Woodstock. I like the idea behind it, some older styles of music. It sounds like the lead singer of the band had a talk with his dad, he found an old ticket for Woodstock, and it gave him the inspiration. And that could bring forth some great ideas, and I feel like it did. Obviously, the smash single Feel It Still is one of my favorite hit songs of the year. A great tune, just a rumbling bass, and obviously great guitar work as well. I love that track, and I love some of the others here as well, like Rich Friends, and even some of the moments that have grown on me, like Tidal Wave, because of that chiming piano and the big chorus. But overall, this album lacks something, and I think what it lacks is Portugal Demand. Their spirit is definitely there, but I feel like it's drowned out in some of the production. You can hear that on moments like Easy Tiger, which feels way too overdone and a bit contrived. Moments like that have me really just kind of drawing back from the record and trying to see where they come from and what they're trying to accomplish with the album, but overall, it just seems like a bit of a mess on our hands. And this is before they had a smash single, so I don't feel like there was maybe a ton of pressure from the label. It's not a different label than Evil Friends. I don't know, maybe it was Danger Mouse producing Evil Friends that really guided them in the right place, but they obviously have a lot of other great albums in their discography, so who knows exactly what went wrong here. It's not per se the worst album at all. I gave it a 3 out of 5, and I totally stand by that score.
You and me are like drugs and candy. Take one down for the young and easy. You get me out of my head. I feel the space in your bed.
Oh, what a letdown this was. I'm still not over this. I'm still kind of mad about it. #1 on my most disappointing albums of the year list, it's all-time low with Last Young Renegade. This album was just a flop for me. Just a flop, obviously, in terms of commercial success, because yes, it charted at #9, but it's actually notable for dropping completely off the Billboard 200 albums chart. Most albums are at least able to log 2 weeks. This one went from #9 to something out of the top 200. People just weren't drawn to this whatsoever, and I can see why. It's like somebody just took a vacuum to them and were like, all right, let's suck up all the qualities that actually make you sound really good and unique and what people like you for. Let's get rid of that, and let's bring in some overproduced moments and some ones that just don't fit in. Yeah, there's gonna be some decent lyrics on some of the moments, but for the most part, let's just carve all that out. The songs that I actually like on this record, I actually learned recently, were produced by Blake Hornage. You might know that name from Versa, or aka Versa Emerge. He was in that band for a while. He's done mixing for Paris as well, and I like him on this record as a producer because he helped bring back more of the all-time low type sound, but there were so many hands involved in this production, and I think maybe a lot of that has to do with them switching over to Fueled by Ramen, a new label, and I have not been a fan of that label as of late. The songs that I'm talking about liking are like the title track, for example, the first song on here. So much energy, a lot of that captivating spirit, and an upbeat, soaring chorus. It's great. It's just a good tune. I heard it in FYE just the other day. It was playing loudly, blasting over the speakers, and I found myself singing along because even though I hadn't heard it in a couple of months, I still love the tune. Life of the Party did a great job at experimenting and bringing up some very topical issues where Alex Gaskarth actually felt like he was kind of trapped in this partying mode, but he actually had these deeper emotions and kind of the electronic beat that swayed over that. You could hear the guitars in the background of the mix as Jack Barrett pushed in. You could see that they were actually trying there. They were pushing the envelope, and they weren't just succumbing to something that was so generic. Unfortunately, those moments are too scattered, the ones that actually shine through with their good graces and qualities, because we have to suffer through some of the stuff like Good Times, which is kind of just as generic as the title would imply, and then you've obviously got Dirty Laundry, that was the lead single from the album, and it was so weird because it never really takes off. There's not much of an explosion because yes, you finally get there at that final part where it slowly ticks up in terms of its energy, but for so long, like 2.5 minutes, we're just kind of flatlining through this as Alex kind of phones it in on the vocals. And I get what they're singing about here, you know, you got the skeletons in your closet, but I still feel like Dirty Laundry is the most unflattering way to phrase that. I don't like it at all. In fact, I would say I hate the song. Keep in mind that you did not just watch my worst albums of the year list. That is actually a separate video. This was my biggest letdowns, the most disappointing albums of 2017. So please let me know what you thought of this list in the comments section down below. It's all just my opinion, so let me know some albums that let you down in the comments. Please, if you're able to, drop a like on the video. It does help me know that you're enjoying the year-end countdowns, and if you're able to, check out that list that has all of my playlists for the year-end countdowns. Myself and my girlfriend Infinity on Hannah have been putting a ton of work into these year-end countdowns, so if you're able to, please check out her channel for one. It's linked in the description, and if you're able to support me on Patreon, it's this annotation over in the corner of the screen. All of my year-end countdowns are in one convenient playlist right over here, and if you want to see another recent video, it's right over here. My socials are in the description, and I'll see you very soon right here on Beyond ARTV.